Immigration has proven to be one of the toughest challenges President Biden has faced during his first 100 days. Just weeks after taking office, the administration was caught unprepared to handle a record number of migrants crossing the U.S. southern border. The effort to care for thousands of unaccompanied children there has been further complicated by the pandemic. CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez has been covering all of this from the U.S.-Mexico border, and he joins us now from Mission, Texas. Hi there, Camilo. So President Biden has been in office for 100 days. How has immigration policy at the border changed since he took office?
Hi, it's good to be with you, Elaine. President Biden, during the presidential campaign, promised to restore U.S. asylum laws, denouncing President Trump's immigration policies as inhumane and draconian. So far, Mr. Biden, within his first 100 days, has stopped the Trump-era practice of expelling unaccompanied migrant children without due process, and he has also placed an immediate halt on border barrier construction. As you can see behind me, these border barriers have not been completed, as President Biden has ordered an immediate halt to border wall construction and has also ordered DHS to stop using Pentagon military funds for border wall construction. However, Mr. Biden has kept some Trump-era policies in place despite pressure from some advocates and international groups. The main policy, Elaine, that he has kept in place here at the U.S.-Mexico border is known as Title 42. This is supposed to be a public health order, and under it, U.S. border officials continue to expel most families and adults, including asylum seekers, without allowing them to request U.S. protection.
Well, Camilo, you spoke to a family from Nicaragua who recently crossed the Texas border, and you asked them how difficult it must have been to make that journey with a young child. Let's listen to some of your conversation.
I imagine that was also a difficult situation, crossing the border with a small child.
Sí, muy difícil.
Yes, very difficult, because he would tell me, "Mom, I want water. I want food." Yes, we did not have a way to offer him water or food during the journey. As a mother, you suffer from seeing your child like that.
Wilfredo, are you happy to be here? ¿Estás feliz de estar aquí en los Estados Unidos? ¿Sí?
So, Camilo, why are some families being released into the U.S. and allowed to seek asylum while others are being sent back with no due process?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question, Elaine. As we explained earlier, the Biden administration has kept in place this Title 42 policy, first invoked by the Trump administration. On paper, it is supposed to be expelling all single adults and families with children because only unaccompanied children are currently being processed under regular immigration laws. However, here in South Texas, families with children under the age of 6 are not being expelled to Mexico because Mexican officials in the state of Tamaulipas on the other side of the Rio Grande are not accepting families with young children. And so the U.S. is releasing some of them, including the Nicaraguan family whom we spoke to, into the U.S. and allowing them to seek asylum. They are being COVID tested, and they are being sent to shelters, and they are being allowed to board a plane or a bus to their respective destinations across the U.S.
Well, Camilo, you also spoke with the executive director of Catholic Charities Rio Grande Valley, Sister Norma Pimentel. She runs the largest shelter for migrants in Texas, and she expressed concern about more families being expelled to Mexico. Here's some of that conversation.
There are people who are hurting and suffering, and obviously these families are at our border in Mexico, and the conditions in Mexico are terrible, and so when we as a country return back these families, whether it's Title 42 or because of children under the age of 6 now being sent back, all of them are in great danger when they're sent back. So it does concern me. I hope that the administration, this new administration, finds ways to respond to that, so that overall our concern is to be the people, and how we proceed to handle our immigration process.
Camilo, how are organizations like Catholic Charities helping migrant families, and are they coordinating with the Biden administration?
Yes, so the families who are released into the U.S., Elaine, are being sent to shelters just like the one run by Sister Norma Pimentel of Catholic Charities. They are again tested for COVID-19. If they test positive, they are quarantined inside a hotel with their families. If they test negative, they can go inside the shelter, but they're supposed to stay there only for a few hours, maybe stay overnight until they can get a a ticket for a plane or a bus to, again, live with family or friends while their asylum cases are adjudicated. So the Biden administration has touted a concerted plan to try to work with these shelters and NGOs and local officials down here in South Texas to test these migrants, because that has obviously been a concern, because we're still trying to manage this global coronavirus pandemic, but also to make sure the migrants have a way to get to their respective destinations across the U.S.
Well, you were granted access into one of only 6 border facilities that is processing asylum seekers with pending cases on Tuesday. What did you see there?
Sure. So these are families and adults who were sent back to Mexico to wait for their U.S. asylum court hearings under the Trump administration. Some of them have waited months and even years in dangerous Mexican border cities, Elaine, where we know that some of them have been extorted by cartels, kidnapped, and even assaulted and raped. So many of them have faced a significant hardship and danger in Mexico, but now the Biden administration is allowing them, at least those who have pending asylum cases, into the U.S. under this gradual termination of the Trump-era Remain in Mexico program. So far, Elaine, 9,000 asylum seekers have benefited from this process, which we were able to witness, as you mentioned yesterday. The migrants are COVID tested in Mexico. They have to test negative to enter the U.S. They are quickly processed at a DHS facility, one of 6 across the entire U.S.-Mexico border that is operating this program. And then they are released by border officials into the U.S. And just like other migrants that are being released, they can go wherever they would like to spend their time while their asylum cases continue to be adjudicated by U.S. immigration courts.
Well, arrivals of unaccompanied children reached record levels last month, as you know. How is the Biden administration processing them, and has it made any progress in getting them out of inadequate facilities?
Yeah, so nearly 19,000 unaccompanied migrant children entered U.S. border custody last month. That is an all-time monthly record high. So far, we've seen about hundreds of unaccompanied children being apprehended per day in April, but we will probably see a lower number this month, but it will still be a pretty high one, a pretty significant increase in unaccompanied children, but it will be lower than the figures for March. The Biden administration has made some progress in getting these unaccompanied children out of inadequate and overcrowded Border Patrol facilities and into shelters and emergency facilities like convention centers and military installations that are managed by the Department of Health and Human Services, because, as you know, Elaine, these children are supposed to be housed by the Department of Health and Human Services, which has child welfare professionals that are actually trained to house kids, unlike law enforcement officials at Customs and Border Protection.
All right, Camilo Montoya-Galvez giving us a first-hand account of the crisis that is still unfolding there at the U.S. southern border. Camilo, really remarkable reporting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elaine.